research, then the problem statement that why we need this particular research, then what are our aims and objectives for this particular research, and how we have, what are our formal research questions for this particular study, and how we have designed our research to making our results, and then we are going to share you the two research methodologies that we have applied to finding our results. First is systematic literature review and its results, and then the industrial survey and its results. And later on, we are going to share with you that what we have analysis performed on those results and what we have concluded and contributed to the literature. And of course, at the end there will be answer question session. So, first of all, what is the agile and lean development? As most of us are already familiar that agile is the group of software development methodologies where emphasis on the iteration and iterative processes. And agile is a very famous software development methodology in these days, like Scrum, XP, and most of the developers are using, because it focuses on the requirements and on the users. So mostly rely on that. On the other hand, information realization techniques deals with the abstract, deals with the representation of abstract information, like abstract information could be numeric data or non-numeric data, so that the information should be in the visualized form and everybody should have the clear picture that what is the actual information. In software engineering, particularly, the information realization techniques could be used so that the information should be in the visualized form and every stakeholder should have a clear picture that what is going on in the system. What is particularly problem statement about our study? As we all know that Agile has been very successful in a small teams, where small team members are working on a collective environment. While if we implement Agile on a large scale organization where there are a lot of stakeholders are involved, requirements are changes, and there are other factors like stakeholder synchronization, there are other factors like time to market aspects. So it is really difficult for implementing Agile in those organizations. So we have to scale up the Agile methodology so that Agile could be used in large scale organizations. On the other hand, information realization techniques have the tendency that it can resolve the challenges which are facing the Agile in large scale organization. So there are the need to explore those information realization techniques, because so far the studies have either the weak empirical evidence or study discussing only the one information realization technique. So in this particular study, we will explore those information realization techniques according to their application and how they can mitigate or resolve the challenges of Agile development. So as I said earlier, our main aim for this particular study is to find the information realization technique that can be used to ease or resolve the challenges of Agile development. For achieving the above aim, we have two sub-goals. One is challenges of Agile development, and the other is information realization techniques. Both these goals have sub-two categories, like challenges of Agile development. We have to find it in the literature and find what are the challenges faced by the current industrial experts. On the other hand, information realization techniques, same. What are the information realization techniques available in literature and currently practiced by the industrial experts? So, here are our formal research questions. Our first research question is dealing with the challenges of Agile development in large-scale organization. It has two sub-research questions, like one is available in literature, and second research question is dealing with the challenges currently faced by the industry. And our second research questions deals with the information realization techniques that can be used in Agile development for large-scale organizations. It has same two sub-research questions. One is available in literature, and second is currently practiced by the industry. And the third question deals with that the application of information realization. That how can these realization techniques be applied so that it can resolve or ease the challenges of Agile development. Here are our research design, that how we can proceed to our finalized results. And first of all, we had reviewed the current body of knowledge for finding the challenges of Agile development. In the second step, we have reviewed the current body of knowledge to finding what are the information realization techniques available in that. And then we have verified those challenges and information realization techniques through industrial experts, that what are their opinion about these challenges and realization techniques. And after having both the results of SLR and the survey results, we analyze those techniques and find out that how can these techniques be used so that it can mitigate or resolve the challenges of agile development. And at the end, we have discussion and concluded our results. So our first research methodology is systematic literature review, and Umar will brief you about that.
Thank you. So, with the help of kitchen hand guidelines, we perform two SLR, one based on different challenges in agile environment, and the second one visualization techniques in current literature. So, by applying our search strategy on different databases like IEEE, ACM, and so on, we got a lot of data, bulk of data in fact, and after applying key excluding criteria like full text or like full text and title, introductions, conclusions, and so on, we end up with 26 papers. That is our primary study. So here, this picture gives you a broad overview of what we did in our first SLR, and you see that nowadays a lot of work is done in agile environment from last 5 to 6 years and so on. So you can see that in 2009 we found 8 different papers. In 2008, 4, in 2007, 6, and from 2006 to onward, we found a lot of papers related to agile environment that addressing different challenges in agile. In this second picture, on your right side, we found 12 case studies in our first SLR, 6 interviews, 4 surveys, and 4 literature reviews. As you see that we found a lot of papers addressing Scrum and X environment. So that you can see 9 from Scrum and 3 from XP and 14 addressing general agile practices in the research. So here is a summary of the challenges. We categorize different kinds of challenges with the nature of the challenge we found in current literature. So first of communications, we found a lot of problems in team, in co-located team, in distributed team settings, among different teams, among different stakeholders, and collaborations across teams, within teams, and slow decision-making process, like lot of stakeholders and customer involved in the agile processes, so slow decision-making process, requirement unit challenges, requirement unit challenge we found challenges related to neglect non-functional requirements, misunderstanding of requirements. In process contributors, we divided process contributors into 3 subcategories, like in people, business, and development. So people means people in different development teams. Business means organization standards, related challenge with organization standards, and development like different development cycles in the project and development teams. So adoption of agile development. So here is a critical challenge we faced that in adoption of agile. Like we found that integration of agile processes in existing development processes is very much critical. So different companies face a lot of issues to implement agile processes with their existing processes. And Scrum meetings is also one challenge we found. Next is architectural issues. We face a lot of challenges related to architecture because of the poor architectural design. Next, configuration management, we found challenges related to the minimal documentation, increased maintenance cost, and a lot of release planning. You can see every time you are more focused on really different releases and kind of 2 or 3 iterations or so on. So we found a lot of challenges in release planning also. So quality, software quality. So continuous refactoring clashes with existing quality control we found. Reduction of test coverage with existing quality, with the software diagram, and we left with independent test, independent testing, or lack of independent testing. In memory issues, we face a lot of issues also in memory, like it's really difficult to manage large big teams where you have different stakeholders, and difficult to manage requirement analysis teams. In next phase, in next category, the lack of linear metrics. So here we found one unique challenge where we kind of found in other papers, I think 2 or 3 papers addressing these issues, making matrices. We cannot, these papers mentioned that we cannot find any methods to measure productivity. So here we put this kind of challenges in lack of main methods. Next one, please. So here is the second visualization SLR. So we map our SLR, our search strategy on different databases, ITPACM, so on, and after applying green exclusion criteria on title, keywords, filters, so on, so we end up with 42 premise studies. So here we go. This slide gives you a bird's eye view of what we got in our first and second SLR. And you see that in 2006 we found a lot of papers, like 9 papers we found related to information visualizations, and 7 in 2009. So you can see that from 2006 onward, we found a lot of study in literature related to information visualization. In the top picture, you can see that 20 case studies who use case studies, 20 papers, different papers, and 5 case studies, research papers designed some tools, 5 literature review, 5 interviews, 1, and framework proposed 3. And in experiment, we got after case studies, we got maximum number of papers in experiments. So here is a summary of information visualization techniques. We categorized with respect to the nature of the information visualizations, input cutting and work status. We found Scrum board, cumulative flow diagrams, parking lot charts, burn down charts, team members. In business modeling, we found data flow diagrams, uniform modeling language, state charts, and use case diagrams. In data modeling, 2D, 3D visualizing is a very known visualization techniques in the industry. So we found 2D, 3D visualizations. Model is another visualization, is a framework. So we put this in visualization. So free map is also, and coordination among development teams and project stakeholders. We found 3 different visualization techniques like Scrum storyboard, roadmaps, and user story mapping. So these 3 effectively deal the coordination among development teams and. Okay, so here is the survey. So I'd like to call Numan to proceed further.
After getting the SLR results of both challenges of agile development and information visualization techniques, we had verified them from the industrial experts in the form of industrial survey. For finalizing the survey questionnaire, we have done a pilot survey of the initially pilot survey with about 20 people, and on the basis of those results, we have finalized our initial research initial questionnaire for the survey. And finalized survey has been targeted to any practitioner of agile development who is involved in the agile software development, either the project member, team member, or the project manager or Scrum Master. We have received about 125 responses, on which, after applying the inclusion and exclusion criteria on those responses, we have finalized 50 responses for the final study. If we see the stats of what we have responded from the industry, we can see that there are a lot of persons who are dealing with the Scrum environment, working in Scrum environment. Like we have seen that there are 70% of the respondents mentioned that they are working in Scrum environment, while there are 8% in feature-driven development and 6% in Agile. On the, if you divide the development location, like how distributed your development environment is, then we have about 50% responses we get in the single location and 50% same with the multiple locations. In terms of team size, we have received about 32% responses for the large agile teams, with about more than 10% in the team, and about 40% responses in about 4 to 9% in a team. So by seeing this picture, we can see that we have about 32% responses from the large agile teams. As we have received a lot of responses in terms of Scrum, the respondents are using Scrum environment, so we have categorized our result on the basis of Scrum with single location, Scrum with multiple location, and other agile practices. We can see that what are the challenges by facing if they are using Scrum on a single location. We can see that by having a single location, they have the challenges like communication, coordination, and control. It might be very interesting for seeing that the person working on a single location, but they are still facing the challenge like communication, coordination, control. And about 41% same persons are facing the problem like requirements engineering and on the project management while having working on a single location. And if they are using the Scrum methodology with multiple locations, they face the challenge like communication, coordination, control, software quality, and the adoption of agile development, like how they can adopt the agile development in their environment. And with other agile practices, like all other agile practices, they can face the challenge like requirements engineering, they can face the challenge like project management and software quality. On the other hand, respondent mentioned that they are using the different realization technique, like if they are using Scrum on a single location, they are using Scrum storyboards, they are using UML. Here you can see that the persons are working with the Scrum and they are still using UML. They are using Gantt charts as well, and they are using use case diagrams. But if the person are working on a Scrum with a multiple locations, they have about using burn-down charts for the visualization of their information, Scrum storyboards, and project backlog with stories. And for other agile practices, they are using multiple other location like visualization techniques like UML, data flow diagrams, and Gantt charts. So, how we analyze those data that Umar will yeah.
So we found a lot of challenges in literature and after that in survey. So we found 84 data points in literature and 53 in survey. So 75 in common and in literature and 43 in literature in industry. So after that, after this all working, we got 9 and 10 distinct challenges with respect to the literature and industry. So after getting these distinct challenges, we, as you know, 9 from literature and 7 from 10, we found that there are a lot of challenges common in survey and in literature. So we found 8 overlap challenges in our two processes. So after doing this, we got 3 distinct challenges. Project function, one is project functionality, one is already mentioned in the website that there is no metrics to measure productivity and so on. And the technical competency is the third one. We found that these 3 distinct challenges we found that. And the next one is about information visualization. We found 45 in literature data points and 47 in industry. So after getting the common and we found that 21 distinct points from literature and 9 from survey. So after dealing with these 2 data points from literature and survey, we find that in fact 8 overlap challenges, 8 different visualization techniques found in literature and in survey also, common. So after that, 14 distinct information visualization techniques found, 13 from literature and 1 from survey. So 18, so 8 is found. So here is our last part, which is very interesting part, is that we propose 7 different visualization techniques to ease or mitigate different challenges, agile challenges, especially in large-scale environment. data flow diagram. First one is to requirement specifications, resolve different challenges related to requirement specifications. UML diagram, successful requirements dependencies, resolve different issues with requirement dependencies. Use case diagrams, minimize challenge related to the understanding of delivery systems. Burn down charts, minimize task estimations, management, resource management, progress tracking, and Scrum storyboard and Kanban boards. These two information visualization used in Scrum and Kanban environment. So these two are progress tracking and Scrum environment and Scrum, and task board and Kanban environment. These two are used for progress tracking. So the last one is Gantt chart. So this information visualization can be used for scheduling and estimation and source tracking as well. So this is all from us. So let's see the question and answer. Thank you.
So questions and comments. Who wants to start?
I have one question regarding the systematical review. Because you list different group of the reviews.
Yeah.
But you have the same quality assessment and the same inclusion criteria.
Yeah.
But did you use all of the inclusion criteria on both the systematical reviews?
Yes, because of course we are doing two different systematic literature reviews, and as the quality assessment criteria is almost same, and for the data extraction criteria you see that there are different data extraction criteria for both SLR, and there are also the search string. You have noticed that there are two different search string for each SLR we have used. One for finding the normal papers, and other search string is specifically used for finding the systematic literature review within that area, so that if we have found, we can use that in our systematic literature review. And on the other hand, the quality assessment criteria is the journal. First we apply the journal criteria on both SLR, and then we have found further that if the study is further relevant to our topic, our area, then we have included by, if you can see that the last, you can say the removal criteria was after having the thorough study of the paper. So after studying the thorough paper, we have either included or excluded those papers. Yes.
I want to add something more.
Yeah.
If you face some challenges to any paper, you can't figure out that this paper is relevant or not. So we go through reading by title, abstract, and introduction, then end up with conclusion, and we make sure that this paper is relevant to our research, and map our inclusion and exclusion criteria as well. So first we read all the things and map our quality criteria. This paper fulfill our quality criteria, then we include our study.
Because also in the review, you can't really see that which criteria have been used for the title and which criteria have been used for the abstract and so on. So I don't see which level you have used the criteria. It's if I was to do it the same and try to follow the steps, it's not exactly clear when should I use which criteria and so on. The feasibility in the review is a bit hard to
Of course, when you are doing a systematic literature review, you will have a basic search string apply on a different database, and you will get a lot of paper. But first of all, you will see by the title that either this paper is relevant to actually what you are looking for. Because first of all, in first step, you will only see the title of those, and then if you are seeing that the title is really really matching your search string or really area, then you automatically add it. And if you feel that the paper is not that much relevant, then you will further read it. Further read it in a way like first we read the abstract, and the conclusion and the introduction part. These three parts we have read. If the paper is dealing with information visualization technique, they have mentioned any visualization techniques, they have some sort of any you can say the visualized form of those techniques in the paper, then we have included that paper. And for the challenges of Agile, we have seen that either the paper is really addressing any challenge, or the paper is talking about any other things, or like challenge of Agile, but some other aspects, And one thing like I would like to also include that we have also added the solution words in our search team for finding the challenges of agile development, which is for if some papers have only the solution, so that we cannot miss those papers that we have solution of any problem. So that's why, and of course by in abstract, and then you can categorize it further, or you can narrow down your search lists.
You can see that most of the people, abstract is the crux of the whole document.
Yeah.
So you can find maximum information from the abstract. And if you still confused that this paper is not relevant to our study, so you can go down and read introduction. If you not, then you go to the conclusion as well.
And also regarding the conclusions, that you have recommended the visualization technique that are found in both the survey and in the log. But the techniques that haven't been found in the survey, only in the log, they haven't been recommended. Were not validated enough, or any reason not to recommend people to use CMAP or monitoring.
Of course,
Because that is never brought up.
yes, we have set some sort of criteria, like any technique. There are 3 criteria. Like the technique should have been in the literature or practiced by the industry, and second thing is that at least 10% of survey respondents have mentioned those techniques, and the third criteria was that technique is particularly mitigate or ease the challenge of any particular topic. Also, there are, as you mentioned also, that there are other techniques which we had found, but we didn't find any evidence in the survey about those techniques that the industry is using them. So if there are about the 125 responses, we didn't get any person who's working on that technique, then how we can recommend that technique? So if we have the respondent working on that, but using that particular technique, then we can recommend that technique.
So we mentioned only 3 techniques that have empirical evidence. We found some evidence in our survey that this technique successfully mitigate these kind of challenges. So we put in our final slide. So these 7 techniques successfully mitigate these kind of challenges.
It strengthens our results so that it can be more, we can say, the reliable as compared to if we are only relying only on the literature, then it's not be a good way.
All right, but the discussion should protect that more.
Yeah, we are already working on that because our survey is already ongoing. So we have received more responses, and we will include those responses. And if we will find any other technique, we will also add it into the next one.
So next one, please.
Yeah. My question is about about your thesis motivation. It's about the agile principles and information visualization. I mean, what I see in the information visualization is basically to project your initial requirements or maybe settings to the future ones. And what Agile proposes is Agile basically proposes to cut down the reporting part. Should I say it's the documentation part? It will minimize the reporting on everything. So how can your thesis just manage these 2 areas?
First of all, as we all know that Agile is very successful in a small teams.
Mm-hmm.
But if we apply Agile on a large-scale environment, where there are different stakeholders are involved, their requirements are changing, there are synchronization of the stakeholders are required, there are complex team structures, so that it would be very hard to implement the Agile environment. So what is the core problem while implementing this technique, Agile methodology on a large scale? There is a problem of knowledge sharing, there is a problem of communication, because the information is only remains within the individuals, so that if the information in a realized form, so that everybody would have a clear picture of what is going on in the system, what is the actual requirements, what is the on which stage the development stage is going on, and what we are going to deliver to the customer, so that everybody will have a clear picture and we can understand that, so that any problem will arise in the system, so that the Scrum Master or the project manager can take preemptive actions and you can resolve any problems. So that information realization technique can, you can say, the support while implementing the Agile on a large scale.
All right, next question is about the information visualization, and based on the data getter for your research question 2.2, you have mainly identified the articles that are related to the requirement visualization, that are not particularly to the broader domain of the information visualization.
As our initial research proposal was about dealing with requirement visualization techniques. So when we had performed our literature review, we have found that there are other information visualization techniques that can be used in Agile. Like when we see the challenges, it's not only related to the requirements or the dependencies. So we see that there are challenges related to the management of people, management of resources. There are challenges related to the adoption of Agile. So that we have tweaked our research stream and making into the broader view, like how the information, instead of requirement is a sub-part of information. So that the complete information of the system should be have in the realized form. That's why we have changed it to the information realization.
We are not focusing on particular area. So we are more focused on the general information
visualization.
Like, Scrum board activity, active tracking, and not only the requirements.
All right. If it is so, you're targeting the broader perspective of the information visualization. Then there are more techniques, like there are hyperbolic tree and there are heat maps. They are also discussed in the literature, which are not mentioned in your thesis.
Yes, as we have already 13 techniques only found in literature, but through the survey responses, we haven't found any technique that is not available in literature and the industry using. There is one technique that is industry is using, but it is not a formal technique. They are using, because 3 or 4 survey respondents have mentioned that they are using informal software architecture and software design diagrams. But we cannot say that this technique is a formal technique and this is rely under technique. And if there is any technique which is only in literature, we cannot use that. Because our main focus was how to deal with the challenges of Agile development. Our focus was not for finding what are the information realization techniques. So if we can see that there could be thousands of information realization techniques, but we are only focusing on those techniques that can ease or resolve the challenges of Agile development.
And based on that, did you find any customized technique based on the industry survey that you have received?
Yeah, because the industry is using mostly, they are using tools like Jira tools, they are using
anyways, it's lots of them. Yeah.
But on the other day, I was discussing this with a person, and they were saying that they are using different other tools because in industry they are mainly relying on you can say that what they want to do, like they want to achieve their goal in either way. They are not you can say that involved, like we have to follow only a formal technique or a formal method. They can use a customized method. They are using informal techniques to achieving their goal. So industry is using you can say the informal techniques to finding the information in realized form or managing their projects or managing their requirements.
So they are implying Agile completely.
Yeah, because most of the in industry, they are not 100% practicing any academic or formal techniques or formal methodology.
Okay.
Because everybody has its own customized solution and a customized, or you can say that the development checklist, or you can say that their own particular methods for the development. Every company has different rules, like how their development process should be and how they would deal with the different, how every process of their software development should be done.
Okay.
Have the same, but there are some techniques they are using.
All right. The next question is from your documentation that you have said in your chapter 4, section 4, that you have mentioned 47 complete responses, and you are being working with the 50 responses in your studies.
As I mentioned earlier, that our survey is ongoing, so we are planning to publish it. So because we are talking about 100 responses, so we have received 3 more responses, and that was very valuable. So we have included it in the report as well.
So we can expect more responses from them.
Yeah.
Yes, good luck with them. And the last question is from the research methodology that you have used industrial survey for all your data. And what I believe is that there is always a risk that people answer to the questionnaire items that may not reflect what is actually going on and what is actually being practicing in the industry or something like that. So how do you cope with that?
As you can see that we have about 125 responses, and on which we had only included 50 responses for our analysis, because we excluded those responses which are either incomplete or they have not meaningful information in terms of any challenge or realization technique, so that it could be some person filled out by mistake or some person is doing it by doing some fun. They are filled out. So after really carefully reading all the responses, we have selected that this has some meaningful information related to challenge or meaningful information related to realization.
So you did evaluate all the responses afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
All right. And the last thing, there are some articles which are bound in your inclusion and exclusion criteria. That is 2000 and onwards.
Yeah.
So there are two or maybe three articles that are not in your thesis, and I'm not sure why you did not add them, or aren't they of much importance?
I don't know what article you are talking about, but it could be the same. They are talking about the same challenge,
Okay.
or they are not fulfilling our inclusion exclusion criteria.
Okay. It means.
But if you can share with those people, we will see that how.
Yeah, sure. I have the list of them.
Yeah.
I'll share with you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Also, we have to look at all the papers.
Sure. That's your study. You know better. And that's all for me. Thank you very much. Thank you for answering.
Most of the questions asked by my opponent, but I would like to ask a few questions. So, did you try to access documents within the companies in order to overcome the biasness? Like the practitioners, I mean, they may tell things which they are not actually practicing in their organizations. I mean,
You can say that the people responded a technique without using that, like they are not using actually.
yeah, there may be. I mean,
but unfortunately, there is no much criteria to verify that the person is just only mentioned that technique by his knowledge or actually he is practicing. But we have seen that the person, how can we rely on that result? We can see that the information that he is giving is meaningful, and by some demographic questions, we can see that the person has some experience in the Agile and they are working in some large or some team. So we can rely on that. We cannot exclude those results that just on the basis that it is the person has just not practicing that technique and he's only mentioned that technique. So we cannot, because our survey is also anonymous, so we are not getting the names of the person, so we cannot show that the person is really practicing that technique or not.
okay. So the next question is, so actually you are using grounded theory for qualitative data analysis.
Yeah.
Did you try any alternatives for grounded theory? I mean, there may be some better.
Yeah, there are other alternatives like iterative abstraction, in which you summarize different qualitative data into summarized form, and then you will analyze that form of data into further forms. And there could be some coding aspects could be. And so, but as we have, you can say that the data, which is in 2-3 further study, like after applying open coding, exit coding, and selective coding, we have found the meaningful information. Like if the paper has some sort of challenge of Agile, and they have mentioned, and we have categorized it like the people are talking about the challenge about communication coordination control. The challenge could be that how the information is within the team are scattered, and how on the broader way it could be that the different stakeholders do not have the clear picture of the system. So its challenge could be lie on the communication, coordination, and control aspects.
Okay, can you give me roughly idea of how many other techniques other than visualization techniques you actually tried to identify in your research work? I mean, to overcome the challenges of Agile, other than the visualization technique. I mean, did you try any other technique, or did you go through any other
Anyway,
technique?
What
We
do you
found
mean by
lot
that
of-
technique?
Lot of techniques in
I mean, how can you say that visualization technique is only better
No, no,
for?
but our area is to having that how information visualization can ease, because we are not dealing with the solution of the challenges of agile development. Our main aim was finding the information visualization techniques, not was about finding the solution of agile development. If our aim was finding the solution of agile development, then we can see from every aspect that this particular challenge could be resolved by applying information visualization techniques, or this could be resolved by having personal training, it could be solved by having some other techniques. So our focus was only to find out the information visualization techniques. Yes. I think
Yeah.
yeah, so you
Are there any challenges we can't resolve in this or any challenge that is really hard to solve? I mean, if I'm doing a new technique to which is the most crucial one to focus on? Which one has academia for government?
I think adoption of agile, we found that a lot of challenges related to adoption of agile. So we faced like integration of agile processes with existing processes. We found critical one. But when we scale agile practices in whole organizations, like we found a number of people related to Scrum environment. Most of the people address that Scrum is really difficult to scale on the whole organization. So we found related to the adoption of agile.
yes, because as it's a human factor and a psychological factor that people always oppose the change. Like if the organization is already working on some methodology, they don't want to be changed from that methodology. So they will really oppose that methodology to overcome, and so that the persons or the people who are practicing that technique, they will oppose to have that technique.
A person working on a particular system from last 25 years. So he or she feels hesitation to come new change to the new change and in the system. So we face some challenges related to the adoption of that. But a lot of other challenges like communication challenges, requirements analysis, we face it, but we got enough challenges with adoption.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Mm,
Thank you very much for your presentation. You mentioned as your research objective find information visualization techniques that ease or resolve the challenges of agile development. Assume now that you have to give a recommendation to the practitioner in 2 to 3 sentences. No. How should the practitioner apply information visualization techniques to these challenges is agile development? What is the essence?
Yeah, first, as all the techniques are formal techniques, so we can say that these techniques have already, you can say, you can say the user manual, or you can say that there is a method that how this technique can be applied. So if we are using any proposing any informal techniques, then we can say that this particular technique can be used in this particular way. But if the technique is already formal, like Scrum storyboard, so everybody knows that how to use the Scrum storyboard. Like if there are burn down charts, then everybody who is practicing that burn down charts have known that how to use it and how it can work really in for the environment. There is one other thing, that there are few techniques that have the same purpose or same, you can say that they can solve the same sort of challenge. Like Kanban boards, Scrum storyboards, burn down chart, they have some sort of similarity in sort of techniques. But they are for, you can say that for whatever the environment you are using, so that you can adopt that particular technique.
It's highly based on the environment. If you are dealing with agile environment, so you know you can use tracking your process, you can use Scrum to get a clear picture.
In the previous slide, the second last one, you have basically mapped specific techniques to some of the challenges that we have identified. The question here is, can we generalize, and how can we generalize?
First of all, these challenges are, these visualization techniques are based on the responses from the survey. So actually practitioners.
I trust you. This is based on the research that you have done.
Yeah.
But what is the essence? How can we find out any general pattern, any generally applicable principle of how visualization techniques can help address the challenges of agile development?
So the first thing is, visualization helps to visualize the environment or information to get a broader view of the process. So if you use data flow diagrams, you can see that data flow diagrams use mitigate challenge different in requirement specifications. So if someone faces challenges related to requirement specifications, so we can propose that data flow diagrams can be very helpful to mitigate these kinds of challenges. As we have empirical evidence, we got a number of survey respondents that these data flow diagrams can easily mitigate the challenges of requirement specifications. So if you see that burn-down charts is all challenges related to the resource management. So people can use this technique if they face similar kind of challenges.
Other question, last question from my side, threats to validity. Which part of your results can you believe in, and which parts not, and why?
We have, you can say that a paper of, or you can say that we have in mind of validity to our research, like having on each step, like by setting the family study for the SLR, we have made sure that we have follow only the search strings and only the prescribed databases for according to the guidelines of Kitchenhead. We have followed that, and then we have strictly used our quality assessment criteria for finalizing the papers. So that, and also we are mainly focusing on the journal papers and the papers who have empirical evidence of that challenge or technique. And then for the survey questionnaire, we have to tackle that either our survey questionnaire really answers our research question or not. So we did a pilot survey in which we have about 20 responses from the industrial experts, on which we analyzed that either these search questions, either these survey questions would fulfill our need or can be good for answering our research question. So that we have changed our two questions, and then we have did a second round. In second round, we are not get much responses. We have about 3 or 4, four responses. But at the end, so that when we have made sure that our survey questions are really very up to mark, then we have finalized the survey. And at the end, when we have got the total responses, we have reviewed each and every response, so that they are, as already mentioned, that we have quality assessment criteria on the survey responses, like the survey response should be complete, the person's or the information which they are giving is really a meaningful information, so that we included those as survey responses. So these verifications are carefully observed on each step of the research.
I'd like to add something. We face some serious issues in our external validators. Like we got only 50 responses from our different area. Like we're aiming for in the start for 100 responses. But right now we are stuck with 50 responses. So this can be limit our study that we not able to get any other responses.
Just to build on what Samuel just said, you were sort of surprised when you saw that people are using UML, right? And then now here at the conclusions, you have UML as a suggested technique in Agile environment. So
I wonder how you came to this conclusion, how Samuel said that whether the results are reliable. And the other thing, if you could just explain how UML fixes issues related to requirement dependency.
As I said earlier, that the proposed techniques are based on found in literature, found in practice, found in the survey. So, if the person we have about almost 6% or 7% who are working in Scrum environment, they mentioned that they are using UML for realize their requirements. So on those responses, we have to rely on them, and we can.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. In UML, we're surprised to see that UML using in Agile environment. So we surprised to see UML usually not using in Agile environment, mostly used in traditional environment. So we confirmed this thinking from the survey, and we agreed that most of the respondents use UML diagram in Agile environment, especially. So we put this in our final suggestion that UML can be used to mitigate different challenges regarding domain specification. So the respondent mentioned in our environment that we use UML diagram to resolve different kind of challenges related to commerce.
Yes, one thing I would like to add that most of the people have mentioned that we are using any tool for particular technique, but we are not focusing on the tool, but we are focusing on what the technique they are using. Like some people have mentioned that they are using SysML tool, they are using, some person mentioned that they are using Jira tool, some person Visual Studio, some person mentioned that MS project. So what we have found that what is the core technique behind that each tool, and we have mentioned those techniques, not instead of tools. It may be possible that people are using the Agile and they are using any particular tool for that particular technique. But at the end, we have to see that what is the technique behind that tool. We will share with you or several results with you. Yeah.
The question, you said that 6 people recommended this too much, everyone. And you have 50 answers so far. So that's over 10%. And were all of those 10% from the same context? I mean, do you just blindly trust that they are correct? Or I mean, do you have any reason of your own to also recommend UML?
Maybe are all from the same company.
Yeah, so the thing is that it's not really generalized that much.
But from this slide, you can see that the person working on Scrum on a single location, they are using, and they are using any other Agile practice, they are also using Jira.
Yeah. Yeah, but that makes me wondering, what is the other 82% using? Actually, because you have 18% in that they use Scrum. The rest of the 82%, do they use anything for requirements dependencies that they maybe fail to measure?
Yeah, but as we had applied all these assessment criteria on those results, and we have proposed those results on the basis of our own criteria. And there is the human factor involved that we cannot judge that either this, or we cannot judge by on our own choice. Like this is not, if we are thinking that this technique is good, cannot be used in Agile, and we are eliminating that technique. What we are presenting here is what we have got from the literature and what we have got from the industry.
Yes, but what he says is a good point. I have this questions too, because you don't distinguish between visualization technique and notation. So I would say, when you ask, assume I'm using use case diagrams and you ask me for visualization technique. I wouldn't think of use case diagrams as visualization techniques. They are a notation for describing my high-level requirements. So I wouldn't name them. So if you make sure that people actually gave you all the answers, and you expect to get them.
Yeah, we added some sort of table in our visualization techniques to give a bird eye view what kind of visualization techniques we use. So So we also put different challenges to give us some hint that these challenges and these visualizations we are looking for. So in our pilot survey, we face similar challenges. Someone don't know what is visualization. Most of the people skip this part, visualization, and more focus on challenges part. So we put this visualization table in our
But on the other hand, this is
Yeah,
but on the downside,
Exactly.
Two things I
This is
would like.
the
Two things I would like. As we have first we have got the challenges and techniques, and then we have verified it from the industry expert. One way advantage it could be that the people have really say, oh, this is a visualization technique, we have to mention it, or this is a particular challenge, we have to mention it. And on the other hand, it could be a little biasness to the like people see that and they say,
so we have to take something.
as long as you
Why do you think the 82% plus didn't give you that answer? Is it because why don't they want to use it, and why might those 18% want to use it? The question is not so much what the data says, it's why does it the data says what it says. And do you have any insights on that? Not really, it's so spatial in data, so obey. Why do you think the data looks like it does?
yeah, in initial stage, it's data is really surprising for us as well that people are using these sort of techniques. But as from the academic point of view and in the formal techniques, we didn't see these techniques much reported in the literature. Or like in some sort of even the development methodologies are not famous in the academia. Like Kanban is not as much reported not in the literature, but industry is really using those methodologies. So there is a little difference between what from the academia in the literature and what is in practice in the industry. Because industry is mainly practicing customized sort of thing so that they can achieve the particular goal.
So maybe a final question.
Yes, actually on your comment, actually, did you ask the practitioners why they believe that the techniques that they have actually told you that they would use would help them to support, actually to address their specific challenges?
Yeah, exactly. We have asked about the question same like that if you are using any visualization technique, and if they mentioned any particular technique, and then our second question was how this particular technique would ease or solve the challenge which you have mentioned. So that they already mentioned that they are using UML and they are for using the challenge or mitigating the challenge of the environment. So we are, you can say that relying on the answer of what the practitioner has said.
I want to add something to this effect, because on the one hand you have the cause, which is the visualization technique you use, and on the other hand you have the effect. So if you look at how many people mention a challenge and how many people mention which technique they use, there is still no relationship between challenge and technique usage. So the question here really is, can you make this connection? So, or could you ask the other way around, if someone does not mention a challenge but uses the technique, then this technique might be the reason why that person doesn't have the challenge. So there might be some cross-analysis to be done between the two dimensions that you investigate.
Yes, it could be, but as previous answer was that we are asking about if we are using any visualization technique and what is the purpose of their using this particular technique. Either it is for mitigating any problem, or the problem is really on the, you have still facing the problem, but the visualization technique is you are using on the
But then it's interesting, if they put this answer and they still they have this requirements challenge.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's...
Yeah, because one thing was that people have mentioned a lot of changes, but in terms of visualization technique, they are very much responses. Because there are still challenges are left, so there could be a next research at how to deal with those challenges.
Yeah, I think we close down the session now. Thanks for lots of interesting questions.
Yeah.
Good answers. Thanks a lot. And we continue with the next presentation at 12. You might have noticed that we made a small change to the schedule and moved one of the presentations but nothing else changed.
ये तो क्या तो फिर उसमें डिसाइड